Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dom and I talk about reading and writing. I just got back from vacation and I am so excited to talk about the books that I read. We went to a resort and I'm not really a resort person. I prefer to be in the city, so I did go in to do a tour and to like try the local food and stuff like that. And then we did a snorkeling tour as well. But when you're on a resort, there's not much to do but like drink, lay by the ocean, lay by the pool. So I did a lot of that and read. So I was able to read 3 books while I was on vacation because honestly I had nothing else to do but, like I said, drink and read books. So let's talk about the books that I read. The first book I read, I actually read 4, but I'm not counting the first one because I had already started it. I only had like 2 hours left. I only read it on our first flight over before our connection and like during our waiting time during our connection and a little bit on the second flight, and that is Spring Awakening by Jasper. Before I even finished the book, I went to the author's website and ordered a physical copy because I needed it. And it was expensive because it was in pounds, British pounds. And actually the shipping was better than shipping something from the States. But yeah, I ordered that and some bookmarks. But so this book, Spring Awakening, is about Mally, who just gets a new job working for a rugby team, doing their like business deals and sponsorships and things along those lines. On her first day of work, she runs into Zach, who is one of the best players on the team. Zach is grumpy and used to people wanting him just for the way that he looks. So when she's staring at him in the parking lot, he assumes it's for that and kind of gives her attitude back. Like, I wouldn't say this is an enemies to lovers, but they definitely get off on the wrong foot. And because Zach can't communicate properly, they don't necessarily get along for like, I would say the first like quarter of the book, because she's constantly trying to like befriend him and he's kind of being a dick unwittingly because he doesn't know how to like interact with people. Like, I honestly for a moment thought that it was going to be on the spectrum representation because of how stunted he was with his capabilities when it comes to connecting with other individuals, but it wasn't that at all. It was just social anxiety and that caused problems between them. So Zach has issues getting along with the teammates on the team because of a few comments that he said during an interview. And like I said, he only feels like people want him for his body. And he also has to take care of his ailing mother. So he has all of these things on his plate that's kind of stressing him out. And Mally just really wants to be his friend and help him out with that. And slowly they kind of, you know, fall in love, starting with friendship. And then, you know, they become something so much more to each other. What I loved about this book was first their meet cute. The meet cute is what sold me right from the jump. Them meeting in that parking lot and him calling her bro. I don't know why, but I literally getting on my fiance's nerves because I keep calling him bro because Zach just got me with that. But they were just, the banter between them was established so quickly, so early on, that it was just flowing from the jump of them meeting one another. What I also loved about this book is that it didn't have a third act breakup. There was nothing silly that caused them not to work. It was actual real life issues that were present throughout the entire book that just kind of came to a head at a certain point. And the struggles that they had internally kind of are what played out throughout the entire story. And it's what kept them from being able to be a couple. So honestly, 10 out of 10. Absolutely obsessed. I can't wait to read more by this author. I should have ordered more books when I ordered this one, but I was just like, I didn't have the money for this one. So I was just thinking about like getting this one book out of the way. So I didn't think to order more books from the author, but it looks like their books are on Kindle Unlimited. That's where I read Spring Awakening. So I'm just going to kind of read through the other ones. And if I love them the same, then I'll make like a mass order from her website. So that was the first book I read technically on vacation because I read it on the flight. But yeah, so then the second book I read, which was actually when I was at the resort itself, starting from like the day I got there, was Sex, Lies, and Sensibility. This is a Sense and Sensibility retelling, and I've never seen that movie or read that book. I've only read Pride and Prejudice. So I didn't know what I was in for, but they did, like, it was, I can't even say it was well done because I don't know what the comparison is, But personally, without knowing anything, this seemed to be on par for a Jane Austen novel. So I kind of think that they did a good job. But once again, like I said, I don't have any experience with Sense and Sensibility, so I don't know how online it was with the plot, but I loved it. So if you know Sense and Sensibility, I don't know if this is going to come as a surprise, but it follows two sisters who inherit this kind of broke down villa from their father. The house is almost in foreclosure and they have to pay a giant payment by the end of the summer in order to be able to keep the home. And on top of that, if they do make this payment, then they get $3 million to kind of refurbish it and turn it into something. So their idea is they're going to turn it into like a bread and breakfast, like a cute little inn. And they're going to try and do this within the money that they got from their inheritance from their father as well, to try and pay it off and be able to keep the place. So that's the storyline for the main character, who is a Black female. She, on the first few days of being in this new town and trying to fix up this village, runs into the main lead character, who is indigenous and runs these tours and is trying to kind of take care of his entire world. Like, he has a lot on his plate. He has an ex that he's kind of interwoven with. He has this family business that he's trying to keep alive. And then he has some problem with a corporation trying to move in on the reservation. So they decide to work together to help one another try and be successful in their independent businesses. What I loved about this story was what I think probably came from Sense and Sensibility, which was the complications between their relationship. Because of obligation, they weren't necessarily able to come together because he, in a way, owed his ex a lot of stuff that put them in a very complicated relationship. And it meant that he couldn't open himself up to somebody. He had so much depth to him, and I'm not sure if the author did research, but he seemed like a good representation of Indigenous individuals. I'm not an expert by any means. I just mean the way that she incorporated the culture into who he is and what was important to him, I think was really well done. And I don't know if she had a sensitivity reader, but it seems like she put a lot of effort into making sure that she was displaying the Abenaki people in a positive light. He also had some characteristics to him that meant that we were exploring not only mental health representation, but obligation and how it can negatively impact a person when you feel like you are responsible for other people. And it's not something that gets resolved just because he meets her. It's something that he weaves into the relationship that he has with her, where he feels entirely responsible for her and her sister. And it played well into why they weren't able to just come together. But that was honestly a 4-star read for me. I was immersed immediately. I love the cultural aspects. I love the conflicts that they had. I loved the way that they struggled with one another and coming together. I think it was really interesting the way that the author did it. And it was just straight up freaking cute. It was so adorable. It was perfect for the beach. That's where I read the majority of it. We had a beach day because it was crazy. Okay, so you had to wake up. I didn't sleep in this whole vacation. You had to wake up at like 7 or 8 a.m. to go claim a beach chair or a pool chair, like to go put your towel down. Like, I guess I could have gone back and went to sleep after that, but like if you didn't put that towel down early in the morning, you weren't getting a chair. You were literally not going to have access to seating around the pool or the beach. So I learned that lesson on the first day. I was lollygagging, walking around, you know, not really concerned. And then the second day I was like, you know what? We need to put our towels down so we can claim our area before other people come out. So we did that most days that we were on the resort. And so we had our beach day where we put our towels out by the beach, and I spent the majority of the day reading it there, and I think it was perfect. Even though the book mostly took place during the winter and spring, it had a summer vibe to it that was immaculately matched to the atmosphere that I was in. So the next book that I read, my fiance hates me because when we go on vacation, I pack like 5 books. 1, I don't know what I'm going to want to read, and 2, he likes to go to resorts, so when he plans our vacations, that's what he chooses. And like I said, I don't have anything really to do but read and drink alcohol. So I know I'm gonna blow through books. Like, he was surprised that I got through like 3.5 books. I was not. I probably could have got through more, but I was going to bed at like 8 p.m. so that I could wake up at 7 a.m. to get these freaking chairs. So I wasn't like fully up and at 'em for like a good amount of hours. But the next book I read, I didn't plan on reading. It came out the day that I started reading it, and I was on my Kindle. I don't know why I was on my Kindle. I can't tell you why. Maybe I knew this book was coming out. I don't know why I was on my Kindle, but I was on my Kindle. So I downloaded I Accidentally Hooked Up with a Vampire by Jessica Cage. And I'm so happy that I did because it was a good read. Was it my favorite? No, by not any means. But the reason I like Jessica Cage's books is because she has such a great way of incorporating Black culture into fantasy-esque novels. The first book I read by her, I Accidentally Summoned a Demon Boyfriend. My favorite part of that story was that the main character literally twerked after they defeated the bad guy. Like, I just want that vibe. I want women, Black women twerking at the end of a battle because they're so proud of themselves for doing the damn thing. Like, I love that. So I was like, I'm gonna read another book by her. There are parts of her writing that I don't vibe with, but those aspects I absolutely love. So seeing a Black woman, a curvy Black woman, because she's plus size, and I hooked up with a vampire. I accidentally hooked up with a vampire. Seeing a curvy Black woman wearing braids while dealing with the vampire king was just chef's kiss. And her best friend, I'm so ahead of myself. Okay, so this girl hooks up with the vampire, and because she hooks up with the vampire, his king vampire brother, who likes making his life miserable, shows up and is determined to ruin her life. Also, she's kind of got that, you know, that magical blood that everybody wants in vampire books with the main character, so he also wants her for that. And so the whole book is them battling his brother to make sure that she's safe. Her best friend, her friends get involved in the story, which is also something I love. Seeing the community of Black women coming together to fight evil is just so on point and well done that you can't help but love it. But her friend comes running into her house because she kind of sends like a 911 text to them with a bonnet on and rips the bonnet off ready to kick ass. And it's like I said, it's moments like that that I absolutely live for in this story. And her having to take her braids out early because they got blood in them. Like, there was just these parts of it that just, you couldn't deny that the main character was Black and that it was a Black woman going through this experience. And that's something I really love about Jessica Cage's books and will always keep me coming back, even if it's not my most favorite. My problem with the books, which is probably, I wouldn't even say it's a problem, it's just something I struggle with, is when I read books like that, I want it to be a series. So it was kind of rushed in the way that I think any fantasy book would be if it was going to be a standalone, because there's so much world building that has to happen and then everything has to be resolved pretty quickly. Like, I'm pretty sure this book was only 350 pages. So I wasn't able to immerse myself into it the way that I would have liked in the world. And also because of that, the world building was kind of thin. So I think I would have enjoyed this story a lot more if it were even a duology, if it were something that was drawn out a little bit more, because it just seemed too rushed. So the third book that I read, well, the last book that I read while on vacation was At First Spite by Olivia Dade. I love Olivia Dade. This is my 5th book that I've read by her. She's one of my favorite plus size representation authors. She always does a good job of making sure that their body and how they feel about it are a part of the storyline, even if it's not the main plot point, which I also appreciate. You always get a little bit of a glimpse about what it means to be plus size and how it impacts the main character. I think that's so important to something when you're reading a book partially for the representation. Like, when I read books about different ethnicities, I'm reading it to get their experience. I don't want their story to be devoid of what makes them up culturally, historically, things like that. So Olivia Dade does a really good job of making sure that not only the way that plus size people are viewed in this world, but the way that we tend to view ourselves is taken into consideration in the story. So the story follows Athena, who's supposed to be marrying, I don't remember his name, but she's supposed to be marrying this guy, and his brother, Matthew, is opposed to the relationship. At first, he's opposed because his brother and Athena kind of happened within like 3 months, and he thought he was being reckless because his brother has a history of being so. But then he meets Athena at the party, and before they knew who the other one was, they had a super connection that just sparked them having a conversation for a long period of time. So that kind of changes his reasoning a little bit about why he doesn't think they should get married. But his brother ends up calling off the engagement. But before he called off the engagement, Athena bought the house next door to his, because he said that, because it's like townhouses, right? They're like connected. He said he wanted to knock down the wall and expand his house into that house. So as a wedding gift, she bought that house so that he could do that. And now he called it off, so she's stuck with this house. So she moves into this house, and not only does he live on one side of her, but his brother Matthew lives on the other side of her. So she's stuck interacting with these two brothers. Obviously, since I can't remember the fiance's name, you know that he's not the main love interest. His brother Matthew is the main love interest. And I'm so happy for that, because Matthew is amazing, dynamic, complicated. He was just a really well-rounded character. So this story follows her living in this house and having to maneuver between dealing with Matthew and finding herself in this town. And she has her struggles not only with integrating but also internally. This is really good representation of depression, and it shows what it actually is like when you have a mental health issue and how it impacts every aspect of your life. And as somebody who's bipolar and has depressive episodes, I really like the way that this was shown and that it wasn't perfect. So I read this one by sitting by the pool while drinking mojitos, and I don't know if it was because I was drunk or because it was actually funny, but I was cackling. And it was very millennial, I'll say that. I don't think it's something that like everybody would connect with, because there was a lot of millennial references and jokes, but being a millennial myself, I ate it up and I thought it was hilarious. So I really enjoyed that book. I enjoyed the progression of it. I enjoyed the ultimate conflict that they had, and it felt like a perfect summer read. That's why I read romances. Romances for me are summer reads. I prefer reading thrillers and horror during fall and winter. So I packed all romances for my vacation, and I was really obsessed with the feel that each one of them gave me. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you got to this point, I really appreciate you so much. I look forward to talking about more writing and reading with you, and I hope your next book is a 5-star read.